Good morning. Thanks for joining us today. Hope you're having a great week. I want to share something that gets some stuff from the book of Revelation, some stuff from the book of Mysteries by Jonathan Cahn. So in Revelation chapter 1, verse 8, God says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And so let's take a look at what it says in the book of Mysteries by Jonathan Cahn. So the teacher, he draws these two symbols on the ground in the sand. And he asks the student, what are they? And he goes, I remember, it's the Alpha and the Omega. They're Greek letters, okay? And they're the symbols for God. The Alpha is the first letter of the Greek alphabet, and Omega is the last. The Alpha is the beginning of all things and the reason all things exist. The reason that everything exists is because of God. And He is the reason that's behind it. And God is also the Omega, the end of all things. He is the purpose for which things exist. So then the teacher draws a horizontal line. He connects the Alpha and the Omega. And he says this, this is everything else, including you. In other words, that line in between the Alpha and the Omega is everything that God's created. That includes us. So if God is the beginning and the end, what does that make us? It makes us not the beginning, and it makes us not the end. We are not the reason, and we are not the purpose, okay? But a lot of times, we kind of act like we are the reason and the purpose. It's human nature not to know this nature about God. This is something, as I was reading it, just really spoke to me, because sometimes I'll call it non-reality, but anytime we're not seeking to do God's will, it's an old term I picked up at Bible college. It's participation in non-reality. Because in the end, it won't really matter. Because this is God's world, and He just allows us to live in it. And He gives us grace, and He gives us all sorts of other blessings. It's human nature not to really understand that God is the Alpha and the Omega. And so if we live from ourselves, and then we become our own Alpha. We become the reason that we live and the motive for everything that we do. And a lot of us are kind of like, well, what else is there? See, that's just it. That's the natural way of thinking. And if the reason for your living is yourself, then your living really has no reason. I mean, in the end, what is that going to amount to? And so the line in between the Alpha and the Omega just kind of becomes a circle. And we're just kind of running circles and living kind of a pointless life. But if we live for ourselves, to serve ourselves, and we're our own goal, we're our own end, then we've become our own Omega, which is likewise to live with no real purpose, and it's just another circle. So the student says, well, I guess most people live as their own alphas and omegas. So how then should we live? Well, we need to decide that this is God's universe. And see, a lot of times we like the idea that Jesus is Savior, but He's also Lord. I love and Lord means He has the right to call us to do anything. And that's when we find our true purpose in life. I love what it says, Paul writing to Timothy, his young protege. In a wealthy home, some utensils are made of gold and silver, and some are made of wood and clay. The expensive utensils are used for special occasions, and the cheap ones are for everyday use. If you keep yourself pure, you will be a special utensil for honorable use. Your life will be clean, and you will be ready for the Master to use you for every good work. We have some say in the matter. We can say, God, I want to live for your purpose. I want to live for your end. And He will include us in that, in a purpose that's far greater. That's part of my story. I never endeavored to become a preacher. That was God's idea. And God, whether you're a preacher, whatever it is that you do, just preached about it this last Sunday. God has a plan for us, and He wants to use our natural gifting, and then He wants to supercharge that so that we can be used supernaturally for the kingdom. Give your life to Christ that He might use you for His purpose to His end. God bless you. May you know the Alpha and the Omega this week.